It's time for the Writer's Block, our weekly look at all things sports. I'm Jenni Carlson here in the studios of the Oklahoman, joined by Cedric Golden in the studios of the Austin American-Statesman. Hello, friend.
What's up, Jen?
Hey, we got all sorts of sports to talk about today. We're going to talk some baseball, some football, and some basketball. But let's start with baseball, which this time of year, you maybe not think much about baseball. But the Houston Astros decided to go and hold a press conference and show us all how to not do public relations. Cedric, their owner, Jim Cain, we've talked about him on the Writer's Block before. He had a press conference to talk about the cheating, the suspensions, the firings, all that. And in less than a minute, I've got to read these quotes because I can't make this up. I have to read them as they were said. Jim Cain said, "Our opinion is that this didn't impact the game." Less than a minute later, he said, "I didn't say it didn't impact the game." Cedric.
Oh, my God.
Come on. What is going on here?
Well, first of all, Jim, if it didn't impact anything, why are you having a press conference to apologize? You know it impacted the game. It impacted the season. It impacted history. You ended up winning a world championship under bad circumstances, and to me, the backwards apologies and the pseudo denials just makes it even more shady. I mean, you've already fired AJ Hinch and Jeff Luhnow. Why are you still in front of a camera? You need to let it go, because at the end of the day, Jen, he goes home and he polishes that world championship trophy that they got. And in my opinion, they cheated beyond that. 2017, I think they cheated in 2019. Why wouldn't you cheat? No one knew about it. Why would you all of a sudden stop cheating if you just won a championship? Yeah. So to me, I just think it's disingenuous. I think the Astros, it's a bad look. And I think somewhere in Cincinnati, Pete Rose is going, why am I not in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it's definitely brought up a lot of questions about other cheaters out there who've been banned from the Hall and all those sorts of things. You bring up Pete Rose, or others, obviously a short list, but a notable list. But the time that I was sort of taking in this press conference, I was thinking there had to be public relations person standing somewhere off to the side, in the back, behind a curtain, just, I mean, melting. They just had to be thinking, oh, dear Lord, what have we gotten ourselves into here? Cedric, I don't know if you had a chance to see the interview that AJ Hinch, the former manager with the Astros, did with Tom Verducci, MLB Network, which obviously that's an MLB property. They keep separate as much as they can, but there were some tough questions. I mean, putting AJ Hinch on the spot, and he was very, he apologized. You know, he said he was sorry. He said he made mistakes. He said he didn't go far enough to try to control the players. Apparently, he used a baseball bat twice to break TV monitors that were being used in the cheating. But he said, hey, I didn't do enough because it kept going on. I mean, that's the type of contrition that you want to hear, not Jim Cain saying, I don't think it affected things. I'm here apologizing, but, but I don't think it affected. Cedric, that is, if we thought, or if the Astros thought that having this press conference was going to put everything behind them, I think it just opens up an even bigger can of worms after what we saw today.
You just don't keep pouring gas on it. Let it go away. When the season, I know with spring training and all of that, the questions are going to be there, but you should have been out in front of this thing a long time ago. And now everybody knows what's happened. And now you're basically showing up with your hat in your hand, and you got Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. Those guys are they look guilty. Yeah. They look guilty. They got caught cheating on their wife, and the mistress is standing right next to them, and she's got on her evening gown, and they're going, hey, it was just dinner. I mean, people don't believe that, and we know what they did. And to me, I think you should let it go. we've already formed our opinions, Jen, about what happened. MLB has formed its opinions about what happened. The opponents that lost to the Astros, I know they have opinions on what happened. Ask Aroldis Chapman about that 100-mile-an-hour fastball that Altuve hit 400 feet. Yeah. Those kind of things. So it trickles down. When people cheat and lie, you got to keep lying to keep the lie going. And the Astros did not do a good job of this. Their championship will always be tainted in my book. Yeah. I don't care what anyone says. It's tainted. History remembers the winners, Jen. They're going to be known as the world champions. But to me, it's going to always have a little asterisk beside it.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's very true. And, you know, I think that letting it go, I'm not sure what the Astros were hoping to get out of putting Jim Crane in front of cameras today as, you know, as spring training approaches. I don't know what their hope was, but I can't imagine that what is going to come of this is what they hoped would come of it. If this was an attempt to somehow get this behind them so that they could get back on the field, so that they could return to the games, this did the opposite. This brings it back to the forefront. People are going to be talking about it. I don't know if in retrospect putting Jim Crane in front of one interviewer in a setting much like you saw A.J. Hinch would have been a better way to go about it. I don't know what the answer was, but I don't think Jim Crane behind a big bank of microphones is something we'll see again, if ever. I'm not sure anybody in the Astros is ever going to say, all right, let's do that again.
Oh, what a joke. What a joke.
Crazy. All right. Hey, so we've talked some baseball. Now let's go to the hardwood. It's All-Star Weekend in the NBA, and that means some of the world's best players all gathering in Chicago for that game this weekend. There'll be a futures game, skills challenge, dunk contest, all of the different made-for-TV events that are out there. But the All-Star Game is the capper on Sunday. And Cedric, they're going a different route with the game. You know, obviously, lots of points usually scored in the All-Star Game. But this year, they're changing it up. They're going to reset the score after every quarter because whoever wins each quarter, that team's captain, either Giannis Antetokounmpo or LeBron James, they've picked charities and they're going to be giving $100,000 to the winner of each quarter. Now, I'm not sure why you need to reset the score. I think we can do math. I think we can look and see who wins each quarter, but they're resetting. It's basically each of them is their own individual game. Then it's not over yet. When they get to the fourth quarter, they're going to go back to the total score. Whoever's in the lead, there's then a target score. 24 more points than the leader after three quarters, 24 being Kobe Bryant's, one of his two jersey numbers. They're doing this in honor of Kobe. That score, so the leading team score plus 24, that'll be the winning score, and whichever team gets there first, they win the All-Star Game. Are you confused?
I hate it. I hate it.
I thought you fell asleep there for a second, which maybe you did.
I'm one of those people who could sleep with his eyes open, Jen, and I was like, I mean, what are they doing? What are they doing? You know what? Kobe would hate this. I grew up with old school All-Star games, Jen, as did you. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, coming after each other, talking gentle-natured trash, Michael Jordan. They don't need to be getting so gimmicky with this thing. I love that charities are involved. Anytime you can help people, you know, worthy causes, I'm all for that.
Sure.
But this Kobe thing with the 24 points, come on, that's just, Kobe wouldn't like it. Kobe just wants to go out there and destroy you, and the best team wins. Resetting the score, I mean, ugh.
Yeah.
That makes my head hurt, Jen. It does, and I probably won't be watching that. That sounds just painful.
Yeah, it's
very painful.
It's definitely a lot of high wire acts for. I mean, granted, the charities are great. I'm totally on board with giving money to charities, but again, I think we can all sort of figure out what the score is, and I'm not, you know, we could do that
without.
Got
a ticker. There's a ticker.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we can figure this out. There are ways to do this. So that just seems unnecessary because, it's just going to make people who might tune in not knowing that anything has changed wonder, what in the heck's going on here? Why is it, 14-13 in the third quarter of the NBA All-Star game? So it's gonna cause some confusion. I feel badly, frankly, Cedric, for these guys and gals that are going to be announcing this game. I just feel like they're going to have to give the explainer about every, 2 or 3 minutes to make sure people know what's going on. I think the NBA All-Star game, as All-Star games go, is a pretty fun All-Star game because, not a lot of defense. You get to see it's kind of like the skills challenge in real game time. You see the dunks, you see the shooting, you see the passing. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad All-Star game. I just can't imagine this is something they're going to continue to do after this year. Maybe it'll be a whopping success, but it just feels very convoluted. And I think fans are going to look at it and go, what exactly is going on here? Sounds like you're definitely in that boat, Cedric.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can overthink things. Sometimes you can get a little bit too cute.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just need to roll that ball out. And so let's have a nice basketball game. Best team wins. I miss the East versus the West. I don't like them picking sides.
Yeah.
Care about that. I always grew up a fan of the Western Conference teams. I grew up following the Mavericks and the Rockets. I just don't understand why they think it's cool that you just pick teams like you're showing up at the YMCA for a lunchtime run.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that. The East and the West, during my childhood, that always was a blood war during the All-Star game, and bragging rights were on the line. And when it got to the fourth quarter, those guys wanted to win.
Yeah. And
they played hard. So I think this is going to take away a little of the luster. I think it's going to take away a little of the old rivalries that we all grew up watching, East versus West.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kobe part, while very well intentioned, because I really enjoy watching Kobe, and my heart still hurts for his family. I just don't think that this is a Kobe type thing. Mm-hmm. Having Jennifer Hudson sing tribute to Kobe, I love that. I love me some J Hud.
Yeah.
But all this other extraneous stuff where you're messing with the real fabric of the game, I'm not on board with that.
Yeah, it seems like it has gotten really changed over the years, the East-West thing, picking sides. Maybe it's going to get so skewed by all these special rules. One year they're going to just tell us, all right, we're going back to the normal, East versus West. We're going to play an actual game, and we're all going to be like, yay, this is the greatest thing ever. I don't know, maybe that's what they're going for, is in a year or so going back to the normal, and we're all going to think it's the best thing ever. So I don't know, but it does feel like it's going to be very confusing. There'll be some great plays because these, again, greatest players on the planet. It's going to be fun to watch from that aspect. You might just want to put a piece of paper over the score on your TV so you don't have to pay any attention to that, because I'm not sure what that's going to look like.
Does anyone really care who wins the All-Star game? We just want to see some high-flying dunks.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's keep that in mind on Sunday because the score, it's going to be confusing. All right, we promised football. Let's get to football. Even though we're in the middle of the off season for college, still a lot going on as teams are hiring new coaches, and obviously we just came away from the late signing day. But Cedric, a couple new offensive assistants down your way that people in my neck of the woods know a lot about. New offensive coordinator at Texas is Mike Yursich, former offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State. Also new to the Texas staff, Jay Boulware, who was a longtime assistant at Oklahoma. So obviously some new blood in the offense, in the defense as well at Texas. What's your impression of these guys and the impact that they could potentially have on the Longhorns after, a downturn of a season last year?
I really like the hires. Boulware is a personality, and he's a tough guy, and he knows these Big 12 streets. I think that was a really nice hire by Texas. I know when I read Brian Davis' story when he told the OU coach that he was leaving. It wasn't met with a great response. So yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, coming over to the enemy is probably never a good thing. So he's going to do tight ends and special teams, and Texas has been okay in the tight end area. Special teams really could use a boost, and I think him coming in is going to help. Yursich, working all those years with the mullet, Mike Gundy in Stillwater, a big-time hire. They need an infusion of offense. He's looking forward to working with Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger is the most experienced returning quarterback in the league. He's going to be a senior.
Yep.
I think he's going to be fine. They need to figure out how to keep him healthy throughout the campaign. He got banged up midway through the season. They're going to have to spread it around a lot more. Mike coming in here, Jen, is a big deal because he understands the concept of Big 12 defenses. He understands the need to put up big-time points in this league or you're going to get drugged. So to me, I think that Tom Herman made a really nice hire there. And the defense coordinator, Chris Ash,
yep.
From former head coach at Rutgers,
yep.
Tom and him have experience together at Iowa State and Ohio State. So I think familiarity breeds love in this case.
Yeah.
He had to say goodbye to Todd Orlando, his longtime DC. That wasn't easy, but when you don't stop people, you get fired in this business. Yeah. So Texas going from 10-4 to 8-5, Jennifer, was not expected.
Yeah.
You're number 10 preseason and you didn't get it done. So just because you won a bowl game doesn't make everything all right. If everything was all right, Tom Herman wouldn't be bringing in 7 new assistants.
Yeah, that's a lot of turnover, obviously. And when you're talking about 2 new coordinators, both guys replaced, both guys new. Although I do like the Yursich hire. You took the words out of my mouth there. I think that's a really good hire for Texas. Yursich spent 7 seasons at Oklahoma State. Was unknown, completely unknown when Mike Gundy brought him to Stillwater from Shippensburg, which is as out of the way as you might imagine. It is not on the college football map for most people. So came in, learned OSU's offense, really left a good mark. Fans are fickle and fans always want more. They wanted, more points all the time. So some Cowboy fans would probably say they were down on Yursich. But if you look at the overall body of work, it's hard to argue the success that they had on offense. And I really think that he went to Ohio State last year, spent a year in Columbus, and my suspicion is he wasn't nearly as involved with the play calling and the scheming of the offense at Ohio State because Ryan Day, the head coach, also calling plays, also very involved with their offense. So a chance to get back in the driver's seat, if you will, offensively. I really think it's going to be fun to see what Yursich does with an offense that does have an experienced quarterback in Sam Ehlinger, that does have talent around him. They may need to fill in some pieces, but I think that's going to be really interesting to see what he does, especially in a league that he knows well. He's been in the Big 12, was here for a long time. Personnel has changed a little bit, but he'll know those defenses pretty well. So that will be interesting. But Cedric, we're talking about this because for the Big 12, and in college football, you're talking about a league that's had a playoff team every year but one of the 4-year playoff, and that being OU. But the Big 12 struggled a year ago, and part of that was Texas not being as good. Like you said, you don't bring in 7 new assistants if everything's okay. So the vibe in Austin has got to be maybe not apprehensive, but there's got to be some thought that this year, this 2020 season, has got to be a good one.
Has to be, and this is Sam Ehlinger's last season.
Yeah,
and he's in the record books now. He's done a really good job with this Tom Herman turnaround. So bringing in these new coaches and Yursich, we ask him about play calling, and are you going to be the guy? Do you embrace the opportunity to be the play caller, take all the criticism, get all the credit? He goes, you know what? That responsibility is what gets me off. And that is a quote, gets me off. And I was like, whoa, did he just say that?
Did he say that on TV? I'm not sure.
Did a Prince concert just break out in here? I was like, wow. He said that. And He meant it. He meant it. And
he never said anything like that at Oklahoma State, by the way. Just wanted you to know. I don't know what's happened. Maybe Austin's got him all free and whatnot.
It's a weird city, Jen. It's a weird city. You've been here.
Yeah.
It's a weird city. And he is hit the ground running. He's got a lot of weapons on offense. He's got Malcolm Epps, and he's got Jake Smith, and he's got Cavante Ingram in the backfield, Rashawn Johnson, a young redshirt freshman named Jordan Whittington that scored 6 touchdowns in the state championship game in high school. So he has weapons at his disposal. And the defense took a step back, and the stress of that showed on the offense, and Sam broke down over the years. So I think with a fresh start, a new defensive coordinator, they need to get back to where us two believe that they need to be for the Big 12 to be optimal on a national level. Yeah. And that's 1-2 at OU. Yeah. Jen, I've said it many times on the writer's block. The Big 12's not the Big 12 if the big dogs aren't barking the loudest.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got to be better. There's no doubt about it. You know, obviously, this, as I mentioned, this time of year you bring in new assistants. Oklahoma has brought in 2 new guys after they lost Jay Boulware to Texas, and then Ruffin McNeil, longtime coach who's been with Lincoln Riley, or Lincoln Riley's been with him, vice versa, for a lot of years. He left. They brought back DeMarco Murray, the running back that a lot of people will remember from his days with the Dallas Cowboys, his days with the Sooners. He's going to be coaching running backs, so a familiar face there. They brought in Jamar Cain from Arizona State, a guy that's going to help coach on the defensive side, a great recruiter, just a guy that they really feel like they can go recruit with. And then at Oklahoma State, you know, a team that I think is going to challenge for those top spots next year with all their offensive firepower coming back. Their new assistants, not new, but taking over the offense, going to be Casey Dunn, longtime wide receivers coach. But then they brought in another familiar name to people that follow college football, Tim Rattay, to coach quarterbacks. Nice. He was in the NFL for a while. So
49ers, yes.
Yeah, and, you know, Cedric, it seems like to me the Big 12, I know that it was a disappointing end. The Sooners get drubbed in the playoffs. The bowl record was abysmal. Not a lot went right for the Big 12 late last year. But you got to feel like there's at least some positive momentum with, you know, teams that weren't where they wanted to be, or they've upgraded with coaching. You know, maybe I just am a glass half full type of person, but you know, I am. But I think that it's good to see, you know, a Chris Ash in that defensive coordinator spot down in Texas. You know, it's good to see Baylor with, you know, a good, strong hire for that job. So I think, you know, I feel like at least the hires that are out there, you like that. Now it's got to be results, Cedric. You got to get some wins if you're in those big top spots in the Big 12.
Have to get some wins. Have to get some bowl wins.
Yeah.
And you have to show up in the bowl season, and the Big 12 did not. The Big 12 did not show up in the bowl season. So the perception nationally is the Big 12 is a little bitty league that people overlook. But as long as Oklahoma is Oklahoma, the Big 12 is going to always have a chance. And if Texas gets back to where it was just a couple of years ago, I think it's going to be bright skies in the Big 12. Dave Aranda's a great hire at Baylor, and that's a program that's on the rise. Thanks to what the outgoing coach Matt Rule did. So to me, I just think that the Big 12 has a chance to make a move nationally. But first things first, these teams got to win more games. For sure, yeah. And when you look around the country, you realize Pac-12, they're in a bad state. ACC, obviously Clemson carries the banner for the ACC, but the rest of the ACC really struggling. So if the Big 12 can get its footing, there's still lots of space at the top for the Big 12 to take up. Listen, I know it's February, but we're always going to talk college football around here. Always. We may talk about it again next week. You never know. You want to come back to the Writer's Block and see what we've got. We'll see you then.